Thank you, Shanar, and thank you, Alvin, and the whole team for inviting IPA again to this fantastic event. I realized after listening to the first three speeches that maybe I should have been speaking about Turkey and freedom to publish in Turkey. We are, of course, very much involved in this area of freedom to publish in Turkey, in particular with our Turkish member, the Turkish Publishers Association. Articles such as Article 215 or the law to protect Atatürk's memory are used to prosecute publishers, including Turkish publishers such as DOZ, Aram, or Tohum Publishing House. Mehmet Ali Varish, publisher Mehmet Ali Varish, just got out of prison, but is certainly not out of problems. The amount of the fines is also a problem. Publishers can get fined up to, and now this seems to be the normal figure, up to 20,000 Turkish lira. For a small publishing house, this means death. As simple as that. So this is a problem. There's also Article 226, obscenity article, that publishers like Métis or Cell, who just published a translation of Guillaume Apollinaire, these articles are being used to prosecute these publishers. And of course, this is a problem. I'll not mention 301, of course. And so with our Turkish member, we fight to improve this, in particular by lobbying the European Union. But I am a very emotional person, and I offered to speak about Iran because I just returned from a fact-finding mission to Iran in May. I was there during the Tehran International Book Fair. It is a massive event. There are between 3 and 4 million visitors in this book fair. Over a period of 10 days. It is just amazing to see this. It means that every single day, at least 300,000 people, and up to 400,000 people visit the book fair. This is just amazing. The Frankfurt Book Fair actually describes this book fair as the largest book fair in Central Asia and the Middle East. One could wonder why so many people go to such a book fair. Of course, there is a love for books. But my personal view is that it is also a space for freedom. People are so packed, so close to one another, that it felt like it was a place for bodies to mingle in a country where men and women are strictly separated and where, as a man, I could not shake hands with women. This is also a country where the print runs have gone down, literally, over the last few years, from 5,000 as the average print run to 2,000 to 3,000. One can explain this through various reasons, like the competition of the internet, like in many countries of the world. Publishers face, of course, this competition. But I think that the main reason why print runs are going down, of course, the increase in titles, like anywhere else, but the main reason for the print runs to go down is censorship. Censorship in a country like Iran is amazing. It is both comprehensive and yet arbitrary. It is a two-stage process led by what I called, to make fun of it, but as an octopus. The Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance is, as far as I see, like a crazy octopus, an anti-Voltairean octopus. Shanar, you like to quote Voltaire. This is really anti-Voltairean. It is killing Iranian creativity. Let me explain the process. This is a two-stage process. There is both pre-publication censorship and post-publication censorship. First, the publisher sends a copy of the final print to the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance to obtain a permanent permission to print. He or she needs to fill a submission form in which he or she promises to never change anything after getting the permanent permission to print. But at the second stage, the publisher sends a copy of the book, once printed, for approval to get the permission to distribute. So this is why I say that this is both a pre-publication and a post-publication censorship. This is incredibly comprehensive. I had never witnessed anything like this before. Many countries, it's either pre or post. But in this case, it's both. In the best case scenario, the publisher gets the permission to print quickly. In the worst case scenario, he never hears of the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance ever again. This means that the book is completely banned. It's sleeping at the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance. But what happens in most cases, the publisher actually gets a list of changes. Actually, I have the list there. I should have brought it with me. I had an example for a book of a list of 68 changes. On one side, you have the lines, the page numbers, and, of course, the change that you should make. You should make at such page and such line. So you make your 68 corrections, and then you send the corrected version to the ministry again for approval. This is also, I said it was comprehensive, but it is also arbitrary, because sometimes the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance reclaims the supposedly permanent permission to print from the publisher after the second permission was issued, the permission to distribute. Between two print runs, the ministry has on occasion required a book to be resubmitted for approval, and usually does not issue a permission to either print or distribute in that case scenario. Only the document requiring these changes is available to the creator or the producer. The ministry, we were told, in addition, of course, produces a secret report about each work which is submitted. For instance, a writer who could have a glimpse at his secret report could read that he was making propaganda for infidelity, and that he was seeking to expand prostitution, and that he was insulting the sacred. But this is secret. This is not for the publisher or the writer to know. In an early translation of American Hunger by Richard Wright, the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance demanded many changes, including the deletion of the terms beer and whiskey in the following sentence. We were very poor. All we could afford was beer. We wished we could have been able to drink whiskey. So once you remove this, I don't know what the sentence means. Hence, the lack of trust in this country for the content available. How could you trust anything like this? One film director we met had his play stopped on the 21st night out of 45, and that was the day when President Ahmadinejad became president. So everyone we met there told us that the situation got worse under President Ahmadinejad. Before him, it seems that book censorship was more or less predictable, enabling publishers to predict which books were likely to face opposition. But when he came to power, the ministry, to start with, demanded that all books be resubmitted, all Iranian books be resubmitted for approval to the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance. The publishers there and the authors there now inform us that the situation has become more unstable, more uncertain, and arbitrary. To give just one such example, on the Iranian screens right now there is a film, but the script which a publisher wants to publish as a book is banned and blocked at the ministry. The contrary is also possible. You can have a book which is allowed, the script of the film is allowed as a book, but the film is banned. Arbitrariness. Hence the image of a crazy octopus, one arm doesn't know what the other is doing. The censorship mechanism is also vicious. One of the books of one of the publishers we met won a prestigious literary award in Iran. The book is now out of print, but still in his catalog, in the publisher's catalog. A representative of the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance came to this publisher and said, "You cannot print this book again." The publisher wanted to know why. He even asked which parts of the book he had to delete, amend, or correct to be able to reprint it again. The ministry representative answered that he would not tell him until he, the ministry representative, receives a letter asking this very question in writing, thus confessing the book as such should not go to print again. The censorship mechanism is also ferocious and determined. I have seen a document requiring 68 changes. I already talked about it, so I will not mention this again. Here, one of the changes required the pork meat to be removed, or required 5 pages of the book from page 293 to page 298 to be completely deleted without giving any reasons. I actually visited the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance in order to witness this censorship at work. It was quite impressive. You could see young women, with their heads covered, of course, which were writing line by line the changes that, for instance, this list of 68 changes, you could see them at work doing this work. And there were dozens of them. So I wonder how many people are actually needed to make this octopus work, to make this octopus live. This is a crazy bureaucracy. This is for the book sector, but imagine you have to replicate it for the film, for the plays, even for the works of art, the galleries, the art galleries. We were told that they were one of the last safe haven for freedom up to 6 months ago. But since 6 months ago, the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance has required that you submit for approval each and every piece of art for approval. And since then, some art galleries have had to close down. So this censorship mechanism in Iran has created a counterproductive atmosphere of social censorship as well as self-censorship. This censorship has forced many authors and publishers to wait several months before approval, as we've seen. And this has also forced some renowned writers to withhold their works, withhold their manuscripts, rather than seeking publication. This is a form of self-censorship. One young writer we met used to be, and I quote his expression, a permanent resident of the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance. Because this system, of course, forces the publishers and the writers to spend half of their days, most of their time, in the corridors of this crazy machine, to seek approval, to seek receipts, to seek to have a door open, to go from one office to the other. This is just also Kafkaesque, I don't know, Kafkaesque. This young writer heard, come back when we have a new president, or come back when your mind is suitable for an Islamic regime. When he heard that one time too many, he decided that he should stay at home, and since then he's writing at home, and he keeps the works at home. Others seek publication abroad, of course. Sharing this difficulty, we have the example of a famous Iranian author, Mahmoud Dulatabati. He has 2 works stuck at the ministry right now, including The Colonel, a book which is now out in German by a Swiss publisher. And the book had to be was on display on the Swiss stand at the book fair, but the security forces of the book fair came to pick it up because the original version is not allowed in the country, or is still banned, let's say. As for publishers, I mentioned about Turkey that for small publishers, a fine of 20,000 Turkish lira means death. Well, in Iran, I mean, for publishers, censorship jeopardizes their investment, putting at risk the very survival of private publishing and independent publishing in Iran. Iranian creativity is at stake, not at stake. Censorship also affects other sectoral sectors like film, music, plays, etc. The film director we met, a very famous character, told us that the government, the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance, actually chooses part or the entire crew. And sometimes the ministry approves a film, but goes to producers and says, you should not produce this film. The same happens to book publishers. Many writers are told by representatives of the ministry, why do you seek publication with this publisher? He's troublesome. She's troublesome. Forget about her, forget about him. The censor can be creative in Iran, but as a result of his work, Iranian creativity, Iranian fiction, Iranian literature is being ruined by this incredible, comprehensive and arbitrary system. Censorship has had a huge effect on creative writing in the last 4 years. A foundation awarding literary prizes in Iran decided not to give its literary prizes this year, as a way to protest censorship and also as a way to protest those who they think have compromised their writing. Worse, the censorship mechanism is so comprehensive that censorship has developed into a culture of its own in Iran. One writer we met said that even if the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance disappeared tomorrow, censorship would remain in the country because people are writers, creators, and producers so used to it that it's become part of their being. There are many, many ways to censor and curtail creativity in Iran. I don't have more time to go any further. We hope to be able to release a report, a public report on this in Oslo during the Global Freedom on Freedom of Expression in early June. But despite the fear, the heavy atmosphere, the doors locked, and the tapped phones, there are glimpses of hope, in particular through women writers and women publishers. They came to me as incredibly courageous, even more courageous, way more courageous than the men. Some of these women publish without permissions and print 50 copies of a book. Others refuse to return the permissions to print when they are ordered to. Others get organized despite the hard times they are given. Others even sue the authorities. Recently, women publishers and a woman writer brought a file against the government with Shirin Ebadi as lawyer to challenge pre-publication censorship. Despite the oppression, all creativity has not disappeared in Iran. These courageous writers and publishers deserve all the support they can get from us. Thank you.